Well, happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, June the 18th. It is the 170th day of the year. There are 196 days left in the year 2024. And welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tom. Well, the NBA finals are finally over. Boston is the new champion. Basketball will fade into the sports background for the next few months. And for many, baseball will take over. And all the preseason prognostication of what will happen in the NFL, the college football this year will keep all the wagging tongues on the sports talk show speculating on what Dak Prescott will do. They like to focus on Dak Prescott. But before we leave basketball, I want to play a final tribute to the legendary Jerry West. Jerry West, Mr. Clutch, the logo of the NBA, passed away last week. He was 86 years old. Jerry West was incredible. He had a 14-year career with the Los Angeles Lakers. He was co-captain of the 1960 U.S. Olympic gold medal team, a squad that was inducted as a unit into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2010. He was elected to the NBA All-Star team 14 times and was chosen as the All-Star MVP in 1972. In addition to his exploits on the court and later in the front office of the Lakers, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Golden State Warriors, and the Los Angeles Clippers, West had a keen interest in civil rights. Coming from the West Virginia University and drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers in 1960 in what was then still a majority white league, West said he did not know one black person before he got to professional basketball. Perhaps West saw the future coming. When he was drafted, West decided he wanted a black roommate, and he told the Lakers, so I want to room with somebody who's black. So the Lakers assigned him a fellow rookie, Ray Felix, who became the NBA's first black rookie of the year. West said, I learned more about race by being around him. It was a different education for me. It affected my reading. I look for books all about all the incredible minority leaders and about civil rights. Jerry West, from a small town in West Virginia who never knew a black person in his pro basketball life, became one of the most successful pro basketball executives ever in what has become a majority black league. He saw the future coming. Major League Baseball is in Birmingham, Alabama this week at Rickwood Field, the oldest ballpark in the country. Today it is the Barons, Birmingham Barons AA team versus the Montgomery Biscuits. Tomorrow it's a celebrity softball game, and then Thursday, the 20th, the big game will be the St. Louis Cardinals versus the San Francisco Giants. That should be a great, great day for my hometown of Birmingham. Our G-List guest today is Dr. Christa Platt. She heads up the Multicultural Center at Illinois State University, and in a state that firmly believes in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We look forward to that discussion. Our show today, of course, is sponsored by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Let's hear it from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl customizes the solution that fits your needs. So let's get to our roundtable regulars and talk to Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Good morning, Barbara Wallace Edwards. How are you?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing well, other than a little sleepy. I didn't sleep well last night, but other than that, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, Barbara. Thank you.
Good.
I just got a couple things. I'm going to get Michael on here. I got something I want to discuss with you both of you. Michael Walker, how are you, man?
Oh, good morning, TG. I'm doing well. I hope you are too.
I am. You guys know, I think we had a conversation a little while back about the Maryland governor when they had that accident that hit the bridge up there.
Right.
Yes.
Maryland governor is going to pardon 175,000 marijuana convictions in the next week or so. Low-level marijuana users who've been sentenced to prison, sentenced to go to jail, so on and so forth. He's going to blanket pardon them all. It's over 100,000 people. He said it's a step to heal decades of social and economic injustice that disproportionately harms Black and brown people. He said criminal records have been used to deny housing, employment, and education people and their families back long after their sentences have been served. I'm ecstatic that we have a real opportunity with what I'm signing to right a lot of historical wrongs. Comments from you guys?
Tom, I think that's a great move. And I wish that more governors would do the same thing. You know, marijuana is legalized in many states today. And so it just doesn't have the stigma that it used to. And I agree. I think it was really designed to incarcerate a lot of Black and brown individuals. And so I hope that other states will follow suit and do the same thing.
Well, I think the war on drugs was definitely a move to lock some people up.
Absolutely.
Michael, your thoughts?
I concur with my colleague, Barbara, and good morning to you, Barbara, by the way.
Morning, sir.
I applaud the governor for making that statement and making that move. I think it's well overdue, to be honest with you. And
yes,
he's exactly right. It was, that's some of the things we've talked about on the show before, where we say that some of the things that we are opposed to is not so much of the fact that we're opposed to it, but we're opposed to the way that it's implemented. It's not implemented unilaterally and fair across the board. They talk about using the political justice system using the justice system to weaponize your political enemies. They call it that. This right here was a law that was weaponized against a certain subsegment of the population.
right.
That's some weaponization for you.
And I always wondered, I mean, we were young people at that time, and I remember being in school and how it was. I remember the sheriff down there and how he would lock people up when it was time to get reelected, and he would go out and have a big bust on some college students, and most of the time, the people who were being arrested weren't the people who were bringing it into the country,
right?
Who were bringing it into those respective states. They were on a very low level in terms of users,
right?
And even in terms of sales, they weren't doing bushels and bringing it in on boats and airplanes and stuff like that. And I don't know anybody who used marijuana and later did heroin. Right. That was the big thing. Well, it'll lead you to heroin, So I think it's that guy's doing some great things.
Yes, he is.
I don't know if you guys saw it. We talked about it, but we saw that speech he gave after the bridge thing up in Maryland. And, man, I was so impressed with that guy. And he's a pretty young man.
He is young. Yes. Very impressive.
30s, maybe 40, something like that.
Maybe late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah.
And I never heard of him until he was elected governor. So maybe he was in politics before. I don't know. I haven't really done research on him, but he is very impressive and doing some great things in that state.
It's funny you bring him up, Tom. I was, just skimming the news feed, and there was an article written about him saying that he's young, charismatic, and I think it said intelligent or something, but it said, and he may be our future president.
I saw he's big in the Democratic Party. I didn't realize any of that. I just was impressed with him as a human
Yeah.
being.
Right.
Yeah.
And to take this off of a lot of people's records, when your buddy, the former president, was convicted, a couple 2 3 months ago, whatever, there was talk that if you have a felony conviction, you can't do much of anything
Right.
in this country in terms of getting jobs, in terms of things that people normally want to do. But you can be president.
Yeah.
Well, as ironic as that is, Tom, you can be president, but you can't really fulfill your duties. For instance, currently, the former president I think he's banned from being able to travel into 37 countries or
Right.
more because they don't allow felonies to come in. So they're like, so what happens if he becomes president? How do you work around this? And what you do? Right now, he's not allowed into Canada. Okay.
Right.
London, Great Britain, all those countries, if you have a felony, you're not allowed to come in there.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I've got one solution.
don't vote for him. From office.
Anyway, and just quick, I know you guys got a couple of things, but I'm proud of what they're doing in Birmingham with that game, and
Yes,
and,
that is a big deal here in Birmingham, and in that time, the Birmingham Stallions won another championship on Sunday.
I saw that. Good for them.
Yes.
I didn't get to see the game, but I saw that they've won now, 2 in a row?
This is the third championship. Yes.
Yeah.
They won the first two USFL champions, and now the UFL championship.
I saw a clip, sort of a mini documentary, so to speak, on the woman who is the CEO of the UFL. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that or not.
I did not. But
it's a woman who runs it. She was married to The Rock. She and The Rock, I think, both went to Miami, University of Miami.
Right.
And she was a weightlifter, and that's how they ended up meeting. But she runs that league, and she's made deals with all the big time people who, ESPN and the networks and all that, who need to do this. And The Rock, they were married, but they're divorced, but they're still the best of friends. And he works with her in running that league. And I just thought that was pretty a great story.
Yes, I didn't realize that. That is great.
Yeah, but man, she, how The Rock's all built up and everything.
Yes,
she's built up too. Anyway, Barbara, what else you got?
I don't know if you all have ever been a member of a homeowners association, but I am, and the homeowners association has been really great for me and the neighborhoods that I've lived in. But there's some horror stories out there that people have talked about being members of a homeowners association. There was one young lady in California who came out to walk her dog one morning. She lived in a gated community, and her car was gone. She walks out the door, and her car is missing from her driveway. She calls the police to report it, and they say, no, your car hadn't been stolen. The homeowners association had it moved because you wasn't parked straight in your driveway. It was crooked her car was parked crooked in her own driveway, and the homeowners association had the car towed because they said the president said it didn't look right. And I started doing some research on it. There's quite a few more horror stories out there. Another young lady said that she lived in she had a homeowners association, and she is bothered by the sun and heat. She and insects. She allergic to all those things, and so she had her deck screened. Wanted to have her deck screened in. She had to submit the proposal to the homeowners association to have it reviewed, and the president denied it because he said it would block his view from seeing the neighbors 2 doors down. He liked the way their backyard looked, and so he denied her request to have her deck screened in. Like, this is crazy. Yeah.
No, I never. When we lived in Hoover, people came by one time and told us that we had our Christmas tree up and that we had to have all white lights on our Christmas tree.
Yes.
You know? And,
yes.
It was kind of like, well, I tell you what you need to do right now. Get off my front porch. Yeah, I did not. I'm not for that. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, it has its pros and its cons, and it's really been great for me. I love the fact that it keeps people from parking on the street and just leaving cars propped up in the yard. So it has some benefits, but there's some real horror stories out there that really surprised me. So those are just two things that really caught my attention. I said, yeah, those are not good at all.
Yeah, I agree. Michael?
Yeah, I've got about 3 things. One, the first thing is that there was an Arizona man by the name of Mark Adams Prado. He was arrested last Tuesday and convicted of by the federal grand jury of charges of firearms trafficking, transfer of firearm for use in a hate crime. This guy became a source of investigating back in October and has been under surveillance since January. What he was trying to do was set off a race riot, and he had planned for it to take place in Atlanta, Georgia, at a rap concert. He said that would be a place where there'd be a lot of young people and a high population of African Americans. He became suspicious and alarming when he started advocating for mass shootings, specifically targeting Blacks, Jews, and Muslims, according to the affidavit. And his reason for doing it is he said that he believed it was going to be martial law implemented in 2024 after the election, and a mass shooting needed to occur prior to its implementation.
Wow.
Sick people in this world.
That's some different type logic, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. He had left Arizona on his way driving across country. He had befriended undercover FBI agents on these, where they have those gun shows and stuff all around the country and stuff. Yes. And so that's where he met them and started trying to recruit them and stuff. And that's how they were able to thwart him and stuff. The next thing that's pretty interesting on a different subject, Sunday was Father's Day. And, usually you hear from your kids. But there is one man that lives in New York City. He's a mathematics professor. Right before Father's Day, he had his 165th child born.
Say what?
Yes.
I'm waiting on the rest of this.
Yeah, tell us the rest of this story.
His name is Ari Nagel, Nagel. They call him the sperminator. You can look it up. You can go Google it. He has donated sperm so many times that he has now fathered 165 children. Wow. And some of it is with the same woman. And like I said, he's a mathematician and works at Kingsborough Community College in New York. And I guess, people, when they're trying to get pregnant and want to have kids and they go to the sperm bank, I think they kind of like profile the donor, like what they do and all this stuff, characteristics and whatever. And so the story says that he has fathered kids by the same woman over and over again as well. But there's a total of 165 children right now. And he is not that old. He's between the ages 48 and 49. So he was born around 1975 or 76. I just don't understand. Would you really want to do that?
Well, now is he not? He's not having sex with all these women. This is
No. That's what I was thinking initially, but no.
No,
yeah.
no. He's just.
And he has no
Okay.
responsibility for raising these kids or financial responsibility for any of them.
Well,
No.
I guess the
So-
people on the other end want them. Maybe that some of the women are even married.
That's
No.
possible. Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if it said that in the.
It didn't say that in an article, but yeah, and he's made it. He's tried to get to know as many as he possibly could, especially ones that live around him.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting, and
And not only that, but the kids need to know each other as well.
Yeah. Well, there's a picture of him with all his kids. They all of the different rainbow and stuff. It's pretty funny, and stuff. But I don't know if that's what I want to do. But yeah, that's a legacy. The last thing I have is something it's kind of disturbing and it's disappointing, but it also will let you know just where we are nowadays. A Michigan Republican candidate used artificial intelligence and generated Martin Luther King Jr.'s voice as an endorsement.
Wow.
And according to the article, it comes up with him saying, "I have another dream. Yes, it is me, Martin Luther King." And it says, "I came back from the dead to say something."
Oh, wow.
And then it has him saying, "As I was saying, I have another dream that Anthony Hudson will be Michigan's 8th district next congressman. Yes, I have a dream again. Okay, now I'm going back to where I came from. Goodbye."
Are you serious, Michael?
Yeah. I'm not making this up.
Wow.
And so,
Well, I've said it before. I think all this modern technology in some ways is some of the worst stuff that's going on.
So true.
Oh man.
Crazy.
Well, and some people will say they heard from Dr. King.
Yes.
Yeah. First the guy took it down, then he put it back up and he said, "I think Dr. King would support me with all what's going on with the water and stuff in Michigan and this part of town, So it's funny, man. I can't believe he would do that. He's standing there with a flag with Martin Luther King under it and has on a Trump hat at the same time.
No.
Well, there's another picture of him with a Trump hat on.
Wow.
Is that not a dichotomy?
Maybe that explains why he's yes, maybe he's a little touched mentally.
That's a dichotomy for you right
Yes,
there.
Exactly.
I just want to go back a minute. When we were talking about the pardon of the marijuana. According to the ACLU, Black people were more than 3 times more likely than white people to be arrested for marijuana possession.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember some of the kids would get arrested down in Auburn at school. It was, it was very new then, and most people didn't know much about it, and to arrest them and put them in jail was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, and the people they got it from probably never went to jail.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
okay. I do have one other thing I want to mention. Good news for travelers. Those of you that want to renew your passports can do so online now. This just became effective last week. eligible travelers can process their application without sending everything in the mail. You can expect to receive their passports back in 6 to 8 weeks. So it's they're trying. It's a beta concept that they're testing out. So they only will accept a certain number of applications each week. And so if you're interested, you should try to go ahead and renew your passport online.
What was the original process?
You had to send everything through the mail.
You can't go over like to the. I think over here they go to the post office.
You can go to the post office to take the picture and to submit the application, but it has to go through. You have to mail it off.
Okay. Yeah, mine.
Unless you go to I think there's an office like in Atlanta, maybe. So there's certain offices across the country. Like a lot of people, if they were in a rush to get theirs, that lived in Birmingham would drive over to Atlanta. You have to make an appointment and you can go through the process that way. But otherwise, you would have to send everything through the mail.
Yeah, mine is getting ready to expire, so I'll figure something out.
Yes.
I guess for me, I just wish everything wasn't online.
I know.
A lot easier. A lot easier. Anything else from you guys?
No, that's it for me.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to Sean. She's got a minute for us. Sean, you there?
Good morning to everyone joining in with us. My name is Shantia Jones, and this is God a Minute. Tomorrow is Juneteenth, the day when federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865 to take control of the state and ensure that all enslaved people be free. The Emancipation Proclamation issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863, had established that all enslaved people in Confederate states in rebellion against the Union shall be forever free. But in reality, the proclamation didn't instantly free any enslaved people. The proclamation only applied to places under Confederate control and not the slave-holding border states or rebel areas under Union control. However, as Northern troops advanced into the Confederate South, many enslaved people fled behind Union lines. The troops' arrival came in 2.5 years after signing the proclamation. Juneteenth honors the end of slavery in the United States and is considered the longest-running African-American holiday. On June 17th, 2021, it officially became a federal holiday. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Shantia Jones, and this is God a Minute.
All right. Well, happy Juneteenth to everybody.
Yes.
Anything else from you guys? All right. Well, Hollywood's got the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Tom, we have the G list, and our G list today is Christa Platt. Dr. Platt has a successful history with Illinois State University. She has an experience inspiring students, and her academic prowess will help continue the vital role that diversity advocacy, there's that word again, diversity, plays in the university's mission. The Dean of Students says they're lucky to have her. Her research and professional journey is committed to equity work and service to those who have been historically marginalized. So let's get her on. Dr. Platt, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing really, really well. How are you all doing?
We're doing very well. Thank you. I can only speak for me. I guess they're doing well.
Great. Thank you.
So let's just jump right into the Multicultural Center. You want to talk about that? Tell us about you head up the Multicultural Center at Illinois State. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the Multicultural Center is a special place. It's a place that the students for years advocated for, asked the institution to create something really special, specifically for students on the margins to have a place where they could identify and be known and seen and valued in a very distinct way. And we are starting our third year of operation. Our story really is, we got started just before the pandemic with the blueprint for the center. And right in the middle of the planning for the center, the pandemic happened. And we had to figure out, what does it mean to continue creating the space that really at that time, really no one knew were we going to be able to come together again and be in community again. But the students were very diligent to meet virtually, review and vote on all the things related to the center. They took the blueprint and created more rooms, more places, more things for students to enjoy. And so our story really is that all 17,000 square feet within the Multicultural Center were vetted and really touched by students who care deeply about what it means to be honored in all aspects of your identity, from your language, your culture, your heritage, and so many things. And so we're entering our third year. Our first year, we had over 6,000 entries into the building. This last year that we just finished, we had over 12,000 entries. So we are growing and we're really excited. And the students are, they're energized and really grateful to those who left a legacy and left the center here.
You have started something new at the center as well, college entrepreneurs. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I think that's the thing that I love about the center because we're so new. We get to try new things, right? Like we get to be in that space where we get to venture out and be innovative. And that is one thing I care deeply about is what does it mean to be able to cast vision, to see big, and be able to take the steps to create what you see. And in my heart for a long time, I wanted to create an entrepreneur program. I wanted to create something for our students, specifically on the margins, to be taught by those who are also on the margins, who've been able to crack a code and chart a path forward and teach that path to our students. I was so busy in the trenches of building the center that it didn't seem like I could really start this work. But I'm grateful that a couple years ago, a friend of mine, an alum of ISU, called me and said, Dr. Platt, there's somebody I want you to meet. I think that you'd really, really like to engage with them. And they want to engage with the center. And got a chance to meet with her. Her name is Lola Tomorrow. And she's an alum of ISU. She's an entrepreneur and has had great success in her businesses. And she just said, hey, I just want to give back. I want to do something special for Illinois State. I want to do something special for ISU and the Multicultural Center. I just don't know what to do. And I thought, well, I know what to do. I think this is going to work out perfectly. And so I shared with her that I wanted to do an entrepreneur program and that I would go back, go to the drawing board and pull out something and create a proposal. I created a proposal and in true Lola fashion, she had a million questions. And I thought that was great and challenged me to really think deeply about how we might get students to do a program for 8 weeks, no course credit, but to learn and to engage. And at the end, to have access to some resources. And so her marketing mind helped me to really think about how I might do this program. And so in the end, I created a program with her support called the Tomorrow Entrepreneurs Institute. And it's an 8-week course that we just completed this spring. But before we did the spring program, we did something called the lab. And we did a 4-week open to the public opportunity for students to learn about their elevator pitch, meet other ISU alums who are entrepreneurs and being successful. They were able to do a number of things in those 4 weeks, and we promoted the Institute because the Institute was a small program, only 25 students, and we wanted students to really invest in what it means to come weekly on a Friday for a couple of hours to engage. And I will tell you, originally I had about 8 students. That's all I could get. 8 students who said, yes, I will do this program. And these students were excited. So, it's always good. Sometimes you don't want the numbers. Sometimes you just want the committed. We had the committed 8. And in true Lola fashion, she said, I think we can get more students. And so with me and my team, we decided to do more intentional engagement. In the end, we had 24 students who joined this program and signed up for the program. So we just finished the program. We had 24 participants. Each participant had a mentor of their own. Some of the mentors were ISU alum entrepreneurs. Some of them were just connected to our network. And I'll tell you, through and through, these students learned what it means to be a marketing guru, what it means to understand the legal process of entrepreneurship, what it means to have a good team and lead your team well, just the basics of what it means to have the entrepreneurial spirit. And in the end, we had 10 semifinalists, and we had 6 winners at the end that got $3,000 for their businesses as they continue to pursue the work of entrepreneurship. So I will say, I just got an email actually on Sunday from one of the students who just said, this program changed my life. And I am just in awe of what we were able to learn and who we were able to learn from. One thing I'll say too is Lola was very generous in bringing the team of people that support her to come and teach the students. So the folks that work with her through legal and taxes, they came in. Her copywriter came in and taught a session. She had an investor come in and teach a session. I brought in some ISU alumni to come in and give their inspirational testimonies. It just was a beautiful, beautiful experience to see that the students got top tier, top notch transformational content. And they also created a community at the same time. I also want to share, because I think it's important to know, I'm a visionary. Like I think big picture always, but I am so clear that I need a team of people to help me. If I don't have a team, I'm done, because I sometimes need people to help me figure out like what are the actual best next steps to get us where we need to go. I'm keen on not just knowledge, but wisdom. How do we take the right next step to get the best out of this experience? And I had a collective group. Not only was Lola's team extraordinary, but I had some colleagues on campus that just wrapped their arms around me. Dr. Tina Williams, who is a professor and chair in the College of Business, she was dynamic. She was a liaison between me and the Means Entrepreneur Center. There's an entrepreneur center on campus. And through that support, they wrapped their arms around me as I created this program and helped to fund the program. In addition to that, we have a community organization called the Multicultural Leadership Program. And they've been around for about 20 years. And they usually send out groups of 5 professional leaders who are growing in their leadership to help build out a program. I had 5 dynamic leaders who were walking alongside me to help me build out this program. I may have casted the vision for it, but I did not do this by myself. I just want to honor all of the people from Lola's teams, Dr. Tina Williams, MCLP, the Mean Center, just ensuring that we had good success for these students.
And just quickly, Lola's last name is Tamara?
That's not her government name, but I believe she's changed her name to Lola tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Not yesterday, but tomorrow.
Not yesterday.
Barbara, you got a question?
I do. That's such an impressive program, Dr. Platt. Thank you for sharing that information with us. And you said you had 24 students this year.
Yes.
Do you see that program expanding and having more students involved in the future?
I actually see us staying about that size. We planned for 25 students. I expect us to be around 25. I think that what was special about this group is that we wanted them to be a community. We wanted them to lean on each other and rely on each other. And organically, that really happened. I mean, we had a semifinalist experience, and it was probably from 12 until 6 p.m. And what I saw is that students, they didn't just present their pitch, but they actually stayed in their group, encouraged one another. I mean, it just was something really special. And I'm concerned that if we go any bigger, we might lose some of that natural, organic joy that comes with a small group that's working together to create something.
Right. Great. One of the other things that, I'm sorry, go ahead. So one of the other things that I want to ask you about is your graduation recognition events that you have each year. And how did you get started with that? How many groups are involved? And tell us about that particular program.
Sure. For the Multicultural Center, we sponsor 3 graduate recognition centers. I have the great fortune of having been on this campus for a little over a decade, and I was a founding member of the Umoja Community Forum, and that is the group that created the Black graduation recognition. I think it's important to know that that was during a time where we did not have any cultural recognition ceremonies. So you can only imagine, right? There was a little bit of rub. People weren't really clear. Why are we having a Black graduation? Mm-hmm. Is it separatist? Is this race or reverse racist? Like, what is this? So we had to navigate some of the resistance on campus, and really it brought up some opportunity to discuss what anti-Black racism really is. Right. So I mean, it worked out in many ways. And while the institution wasn't ready to institutionalize that program, there were multiple departments around campus that were willing to fund and support and in the community. That group of people, I was a part of that group, they pioneered that. And then the institution understood, hey, we might need to get behind what it might mean to provide some cultural opportunities for students to express themselves at graduation. And so the Lavender graduation came about right after that. So that was for the LGBTQ plus students. And then we have one for our Latin identifying students called Nuestros, and for our Middle Eastern, Asian, Pacific Islander, and Southeast Asian students, we have something called MAPS. So we have 4 in total as an institution. And the Multicultural Center sponsors 3 that are institutionalized through the center. But the Umoja Community Forum still functions, right? It's still in existence. It's faculty, staff, students, and community members that really hold that up. And the Multicultural Center co-sponsors that event. So they are they're a rite of passage. Students anticipate coming, and I think we had a little over 170 Black graduates at the Black graduation. We had a little under maybe around 100 of our Latin students at Nuestros, and then probably like 30 to 40 for each our MAPS and our LGBTQ plus students. And so they're beautiful events, and they're really excited, and the university really does rally around to support the students as they celebrate this really amazing time of their life.
That's great. Thank you.
That's interesting. I got a question, but go ahead, Michael.
Dr. Platt, thank you for being with us today, and certainly to be commended for all the work that you've been doing. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to know how you guys have been able to navigate the negative narrative out there about DEI, because clearly this program is diversity and equity and inclusion, but you guys do not seem to be having a problem with your state legislatures and anybody threatening to defund your program. So how are you navigating that?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that Illinois, for me, I would have never said this because I'm from Kansas, and I only expected to be in Illinois for a couple years for grad school. So I've been here longer than anticipated. But I am grateful to live in Illinois. I just am. I think I see some efforts that are being done that really prioritize DEI, right? Like, what does it mean for our president, my current president, to be on a committee that is talking about supporting the work of DEI across the state of Illinois in higher education? And so that's significant. And no one has said anything about any of the things that I'm doing on campus. Of course, you have these outliers and folks who are asking questions, and I think that people are behind the scenes doing what they do. But for right now, in this moment, there have not been any conversations about the negative narrative. I will say that I try to stay abreast to what's going on around the nation. I do know about my colleagues at the University of Texas at Austin who the students went away for spring break and came back, and the Multicultural Center staff was gone, right? That over 60 people, mainly Black women and women of color, lost their jobs. And so I know I've had some colleagues in Texas talk about the work, and we're doing some partnering with somebody at the University of Texas, and they were talking about just the bittersweet work of this partnership, that it's bitter because of what they lost, and it's sweet because we're able to continue working here in Illinois at the Multicultural Center. I anticipate that it won't always be like this, right? It won't always be like this. That if we have a change at the federal level, things could look really different next year. And so that's concerning. And so I do try to challenge my staff. How do we take good care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically? And then how do we shore up what we do in the Multicultural Center that honors the humanity of people as a whole? And that's really important, right? Like, we don't necessarily do, every month there is some sort of cultural kind of experience that's happening. We don't necessarily do that, but we're trying to do things that really honor the human experience. So the entrepreneur program, there are multiple identities represented in that group. It wasn't just Black students. It wasn't just Latin students. We had white students that were part of that group. Entrepreneurship is important across the board. So in my mind, we will continue to do civic engagement. We'll continue to do work that honors people's commitment to justice, and we'll do other things as well that connect to the institution's strategic plans. And I think that's the way we're going to have to think about our work as the lay of the land changes, as things start to shift, as things start to move, especially around DEI.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question. Your entrepreneur program and the concept of having former alumni come back and get involved, how was that brainchild brought about? How did you get that going, and what prompted you to think of that?
I think so. That's actually something I'm committed to across the board. I one of my greatest goals for the Multicultural Center is that we are surrounded by alumni. I've been here long enough to know that sometimes our alumni, those who have been pushed to the margins and forced to the margins, haven't always found a place, right, for themselves. And I've been told time after time, I've not given yet to the institution, but I'm ready to give, right? I'm ready to do something. I'm ready to serve now that the Multicultural Center is around. And I'd like for the students of the Multicultural Center to know what it means to have alumni grandparents and alumni aunts and uncles and cousins and friends that they can always be connected to. I'd like to encase this whole center from each identity group with family members. And that has been the core of what I've been like working towards. And this program, it just made sense to continue in that way of understanding that if I could have every student to have an alumni ISU mentor, that would be great. And actually last night, I'm not from Illinois and I'm not from Chicago, but whenever I go to Chicago, I see students from years and years and years and years ago. Last night at the event that I went to in Chicago, I saw one of my students from over 10 years ago. And he now lives in Nigeria. And he was visiting. And he said to me, I'm so grateful that I got a chance to work in the entrepreneur program. He was actually one of the mentors for one of the students who won. And he was like, it was an extraordinary experience. And I'm still connected with him. And let me know what you need, because I still want to be involved with ISU and the Multicultural Center. to me, that's what I'm doing this for.
Yes.
That he feels seen, he can be invested and engaged, and there's a student who has a mentor probably for life, just knowing this student of mine, that it's a connection for life. And so that's what I want. And that's why I felt like this program would be a good next step to create more alumni relatives for our students.
That's
Thank you.
great. That is
Good,
great.
Mike.
Dr. Platt, can you talk about your new student induction ceremony and how that is utilized?
Sure. Well, actually, we don't do the new student induction ceremony. I actually moved away from that program, but
Okay.
I will say there is a program that I do want to introduce that you all might appreciate. At least, Tom, you might appreciate. We took our students to Alabama. Um, we created an 8-week course, actually an actual course for course credit, where students were learning about a number of topics, specifically around justice in Selma and justice in Montgomery. And so we took about 21 people to Montgomery for a week after an 8-week course, and the students enjoyed themselves and they learned so much. In fact, when they left the experience, they ended up having 2 certifications, one for Kingian nonviolence training and restorative justice training. So we're really grateful. Dr. Monica Overton, our Associate Director for Anti-Racist Education, led that charge. And it was an amazing experience. And students are already asking, when is the next trip? When is it? When do I have an opportunity to sign up? Because I want to go to Alabama.
Well, let us know next time you're coming. All 3
Yes.
of us are from Alabama. We'd love
Yes.
to
All 3 of you.
welcome you guys
Wow.
and be a part of it in some way. That'd be great.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would love that. We would love that.
Yes, that'd be great. So let me ask you this. So, and maybe I didn't hear it right, but so in terms of of the entrepreneurial program and stuff, things like that, you're basically able to deal with DEI issues within another context.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we are not it's entrepreneurship, right? Like it's and the context, the context of the Multicultural Center has not changed, right? The reason why the center was created through research was that students on the margins did not feel like they belonged. And so the consultant left us with 5 recommendations. One of them was to create and invest in affirming spaces for students of color. I mean, when I do my work, that is at the core of the work that we do. It's not the only thing that we do, because we recognize in order to have a campus that works, everybody needs to be committed to justice and humanity. So when I do entrepreneurship, I do it from the framework of, I want the students who come into the center, who engage in the center, to see people that look like them, to learn from a context that honors their context, and to expose them to a variety of people. And so the students who come and are part of that program, they might be Black, a lot of them might be, but they might not be. We had a student from Bangladesh, one of my favorite students, right, who signed up for that program. It doesn't mean that, right, we are going to say, like, okay, if you think about the Freedom Fund initiative, I don't know if y'all heard about that, but there's a venture capitalist fund specifically for Black women, and that's come under fire since affirmative action has been struck down. Right, we're not saying this is just for Black women, right? We're not saying it's just for Latin folks, and I think it's still the work of DEI, but it's also something that's central to America, right? To capitalism, to the marketplace, right? It's how do we do our work, have the context that we have, but then honor something that everybody cares about.
It's all in the messaging.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Other questions?
One last one for me is that, could you tell me a little bit about what your LGBTQ plus fund does?
Sure. Okay, so here's the thing. We are On this campus, the Dean of Students office, they support when students are displaced. If something happens where a student decides, hey, I'm going to share with my family that I am gay or I am trans or I am a lesbian, and their families disown them or decide that they cannot fund them in their life. Students have a refuge in the LGBTQ plus fund that says if you want to stay in school, but you don't have the means to do it, we have this fund to support you. Um, and it doesn't support the full and totality, right, of what a parent might supply, but filling in those gaps is what I think that grant does. And it's been funded for quite some time, and usually on a day like Birds Give Back, our 1 day giving fund day, our annual giving day, that fund is always on the docket, and people are always giving to ensure that year round there are resources in case a student does have and fall into this these challenging times.
That's great.
Christa, one thing I'd like to say in listening to you guys, and of course my wife went to Illinois State, and but in all the times I've listened to you guys, you don't talk about football, you don't talk about basketball, you don't talk about all of the, you talk about your students
Yes.
and what you can do for your students.
Mhm.
And I'm just very, I commend you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I think that is really the spirit of the institution. I'm glad you brought that out because I never talk sports. Um, but it's so true. I mean, it is so true. It is the heart and the spirit and the heartbeat of this campus is we do care deeply about our students.
And it shows.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you for being with us again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, you all.
And when you guys come to Alabama again, let us know.
I will be sure to do so. I'll be sure to do so.
Okay. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay. Very good. My closing comments for today, or as I see it, they have received death threats. They have been followed home by strangers. They are abused and derided. Who am I talking about? Who is being threatened and treated this way? Believe it or not, it's Major League Baseball players. Why? What has happened? Well, it's about Major League Baseball players and the relationship their respective leagues have formed with gambling companies. Arizona Diamondbacks closer Paul Sewall says, "You blow a save, you don't come through, you get it all from the fans. F you. You suck. You cost me a lot of money. F your family. I'm going to kill your family." Players say they are being not just threatened, but also followed home after games. One player says, "I can show you my DMs that are full with people talking SHIT and saying how you cost them money and saying some nasty SHIT, and it's part of professional sports now. And it's never been easier to gamble. Everyone can do it on their phone. It's all about the money." And that's not the end of it. Major League Baseball will soon implement an automatic strike zone, likely in 2026. And that will be interesting because umpires will not be calling the balls and strikes. It will be technology. Oh, and if you're a player, remember, with all the gambling advertising and all the avenues to gamble, you still have to adhere to Rule 21. What is Rule 21? It prohibits a player from gambling on baseball. And that's our show for today. Thank the audience. We appreciate you. Thank our guest, Dr. Platt. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl Inc. Thanks again to the TWT team, Barbara, Sean, Emily, Michael, and Joyce. And that's it on this June 18th. Remember, a day without a smile is a day wasted. If you've got an extra one, give one to someone else today. Enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.